There's a young girl from New York. She travels to Mumbai to study. She's crossing the road and a Mumbai police vehicle runs her over. Then the two cops are chatting and they're saying, अरे ठीक है यार, कितने की थी, 25-26 साल की थी, 11,000 का चेक साइन कर दियो, क्या फर्क पड़ता है? And then they laugh. Okay? What would you think would happen? How would this be digested in America? And here is a young American girl. She traveled to Bombay to study. Okay, these cops, heathens, ran her over, laughed as they did, and made crack jokes about it. All caught on camera. The entire thing caught on camera. Okay, what would be expected? What hellfire would rage from the US Embassy in Delhi or the US Consulate in Mumbai? What would they be expecting a free country to be doing? Now reverse the situation. There's a young 23-year-old girl in the US. A cop by the name of Kevin Dave runs her over there while she's crossing on a zebra crossing, and he's zipping on high speed. He's then caught on audio in his own vehicle, laughing, saying, hey, she's dead. Well, it's okay, I'll sign a check of $11,000. How old was she? 26. Why don't you listen to it? That'll make it more. Why don't you just listen? Here, listen.
Up on the hood, hit the windshield, then when he hit the brakes, flew off the car. But she is dead. No, it's a regular person. Yeah. Yeah, just write a check. Just $11,000. She was 26 anyway. She had limited value.
You know what? For the better taste of the lovely soirees that are probably going to be organized in the American Embassy tonight to host a lot of people who might be visiting, okay, why don't they set up a nice large screen on the grounds of the American ambassador's residence and play this tape? Let's play it again. Let's play it again. Let's listen to this again.
Up on the hood, hit the windshield, then when he hit the brakes, flew off the car. But she is dead. No, it's a regular person. Yeah. Yeah, just write a check. Just $11,000. She was 26 anyway. She had limited value.
The American Embassy and its consulates in India employ a lot of staff in this country. Americans and Indians working in various consular services. I think they would reasonably expect that if an American citizen died in such a way and the Indian cops were laughing about it on camera, that those cops would be prosecuted. Well, hey presto, they are not going to be prosecuted in New York. Lack of evidence. I simply don't know what to say. Okay? So let me introduce my guests who perhaps will fill in that gap. Ambassador Mahesh Sachdeva joining us on the broadcast. Rabinder Sachdeva with us as well. Adit Kothari is with us, and Rashmi Samant joining us. Rashmi, let me begin with you. Okay, I'm sure you've seen this happen. Okay, and you heard the news that these cops will not be prosecuted in what was a hit and run, which was a joke to them. Okay, I'm sure it's not a joke to the family of young Jaahnavi. I'm sure it's not a joke to all of us Indians. It certainly is no joke to me. Okay. And here they go. What if this was an American girl who had been killed the same way in India? What would have happened, Rashmi?
Well, I think Jaahnavi's death is absolutely heartbreaking, especially at a time where, you have Indian students who are going missing, who are ending up dead abroad. It's absolutely heartbreaking. And you're right to point out, had the scenario been, otherwise, that there was an American girl here in India, the entire country would have, demanded sort of accountability from Indians. The Indian government would have been questioned. In fact, they would have come after us with the entire force of the government.
No, there would have been Rihanna and Greta Thunberg and all sorts of people jumping in. I'm pretty sure that would have happened. Where are all these people?
And it would have been there would have been questions really about the integrity of democracy within this country. So the matter would have been blown into those proportions. And here we have one girl who's definitely, it's a hit and run, it's a road rage, and we don't have minimum justice happening. Unfortunately, as I've seen justice work in these countries abroad, unfortunately, there's a huge bully quotient that comes in. Large institutions are really, really concerned about how their reputation is, and all pursuit is towards preservation of this reputation. Laws are interpreted.
No, Rashmi, what is the reputation of the United States and America amongst us Indians? You've all seen the tape. If you haven't said, I'll show it again. I'm pretty confident, Rashmi, I'm sure you'll agree with me, that as we speak, the American embassy at the US Cultural Center, the American Center in Delhi on Kasturba Gandhi Marg, will be organizing a screening of this tape. I'm sure that's what they're planning for this evening, right? They'll be celebrating this tape. Is that the plan? I mean, this is ridiculous. So these people are laughing. An accident can happen, okay? Accidents do happen, all right? People can die. It's the point of intent. What do you think the intent of these officers was? To say, oh my God, I've just done something wrong? No, their intent was rather funny. Okay, let me get Ambassador Sachdeva into this. Ambassador Sachdeva, what is this? Where does the US reputation now stand for the 100,000 Indians who wish to travel, work, live and migrate to the United States of America, which is a strategic partner of India, for God's sake?
You're absolutely right in condemning this abominable accident, or calling it accident would be minimalism. It's a horrible event with a cop driving at 3 times the speed limit, pretending to be chasing an overdose drug case, not blowing the siren as they are supposed to do while doing so, and on a pedestrian crossing, killing an Indian young, bright person doing research in IT. And then sort of talking about it in a blasé manner. I think it is quite horrible and needs to be condemned by all right-thinking people. Now, having said that, in the real world, Mr. Gulati, soft powers count a lot more than hard power in cases like this. And India's soft power has grown, and this has to be fully deployed. People like you have a role, and I'm glad that you are playing that role of conscience keeper of United States. I think this should not stop. There should be, like Black Lives Matters movement, which has had some success. Indian community in United States need to galvanize itself, talk about it, and the diplomatic contacts need to keep mentioning this till justice is done.
Yes, all those things should happen, but
What kind of evidence do you need? Somebody has died.
it's caught on camera.
It's caught on camera, and yet we are told that the erring cop has not been, will not be prosecuted 1 year after the event because there's no evidence.
Yes,
What
so,
kind of
so again,
evidence do
I
you need?
address specifically the staff of the American embassy in Delhi. And the reason I address you, because it is your job to file the reports that go back to Washington in the wires that you send back of public assessment here in India. Send them back a copy. That all the work that we do, okay, people like Robinder Sachdev do, people like Ambassador Sachdev do, in trying to forge together a partnership for great democracies, is literally thrown under the car with a laugh. It is abominable. Now, I have a daughter, okay? Imagine Robinder Sachdev, that one day you come into my house at a Chautha or a Terevi or whatever, okay? And somebody just lost their, somebody who's died, okay? And you're going, yeah, she's dead. It's okay. What was her life worth anyway? How old was she? We'll just sign you a check. And that person is in uniform, a police uniform. How would you take it?
I mean, as you said, words would fail me. I'll be mind boggled. I mean, you'll be zapped because, I mean, how to take something like this, honestly, right? And as you said, somebody, especially also in a uniform, be it of the police or the army, etc., a uniform, I think, carries a lot more responsibility on his shoulders to be conducting an, ideal civic life and portraying that. So what the comments are absolutely shocking. What to say? Couple of things on this, yes. See, what this also highlights is, of course, one is with respect to India, but we got to see if what we are seeing in the US, the police in the US has been playing fast and loose with the laws and conduct overall also. Just as Ambassador Sachdev just now mentioned, the case of George Floyd, due to which the Black Lives Movement got so much traction. The police in the US has virtually gone rogue. Police, they're equipped with arms and whatever they have, almost to the tune, almost similar as to what the military has. The police departments in the US have gone ahead and, asked for more budgets and more budgets and more budgets. And if you see their cops, even the normal cops, the way they address the equipment they're carrying, they're fully, they're very much in the macho mode, quote unquote. Partly that is a huge issue.
No, so but Robinder Sachdev, that's their problem. How you run your country, how you run your police force, don't run it. Arm people, whether you want gun laws, don't want gun laws, whether you want to have abortion, not have abortion. You're a free country, you run it the way you want. That's nothing for me to say, for me to discuss. My premise is just brute humanity. There's no some laws or cultures or systems here at thing. This is just brute humanity. You've killed a girl. You have laughed at her dead body. Okay? And then we are being told, you've done nothing wrong. Shabash, well done. And the entire US system here, living in India, hundreds of people, diplomats, envoys working here, okay, are unable to report back to their head office that a travesty is taking place. There are millions of Indians, tens of millions, hundreds of millions of Indians on social media who are going to be watching this clip, have already seen this clip. It is an outrage. It is an embarrassment to the free world. It is an embarrassment to our democratic system's work. And we are supposed to be at the fulcrum of the free world. What is the example that has just been said, Robinder Sachdev?
Brutal mindset. It's the brutal mindset which is out there. And in this particular matter, fine, what would it be? The case should be carried forward. Right now it's the county prosecutor's office which has said it's not going to prosecute. The case should go up, should be escalated. And I think definitely our embassy would take up this matter, take it to the Seattle District Attorney's office. Let it be there. This is a travesty of justice which we are seeing play out. It's not only a brutal mindset, it's even a failure of the judicial or the legal system.
Okay. It's sheer humanity. Adit, tragedy happens. In life there is death, okay? But I can't imagine if you ever invited me to your house and knowing full well that maybe, you lost a family member and going to you, Adit, What was a life worth anyway? Here's $11,000. Throw a check on your face and go once again. What would you judge me as a person if I did that?
Racist and absolutely brutal, as Rubendraji also pointed out. I mean, what the Seattle police officers have essentially demonstrated collectively is that racism is an institutionalized weapon within their system, and police brutality. The fact that Kevin Dave was essentially driving on a 20-mile road at about 120 kilometers, which is roughly about 80 odd miles. It purely shows that, he was irresponsible. He did not have the continuous siren at the time, and which is why Ms. Kandula couldn't actually notice the police car coming. And as a consequence, she was hit by the car and she was dropped about 138 feet across the street and, lined up dead. My problem is more with Daniel Audra, who is the vice president of the Seattle Police Officers Guild, who is actually monitoring this particular report. He's monitoring this particular video and is making those sadistic jokes while speaking to his colleague Mike Solon. And he's saying that, the least, all we should be doing is just signing a $11,000 check for this lady. And I'm glad that the Kandula family has decided to pursue civil actions against both Kevin Dave and the Seattle Police Department, because that's the least we can do. In fact, as a collective community, we should be supporting the Kandula family to ensure that, we are right behind them, and the embassies in the United States should be right behind them as well.
No, but why?
But
why should they require the
point,
force? Why should they require the force of our support? Why should they require, in something that is so glaringly obvious, why should they require the force of our support?
That is precisely what I'm coming down to, Rishabhji, because the United States is essentially a hypocritical state. It is a class monitor which has an abysmal record in their own human rights. They publish a human rights report on every country across the world, across the free world, every country that is part of the United Nations, and they publish a human rights report every single year. They name every single country, including Russia, including China, including India, calling out the human rights excesses in those countries except themselves. So imagine, this year they published that human rights report with a 68-page account of what happens in India. But there was not a single mention of their own human rights records.
I'll make another recommendation to the American Center while it is distributing the Fulbright scholarships for the coming year. Make this compulsory viewing, that when you organize a soiree for your Fulbright scholars, make sure they watch this so that they're a bit wary when they're crossing the streets in America. Yeah? Yeah? Think about it. Rashmi?
Well,
what the question, I just want to pose this in the form of a question, okay? So obviously there are going to be equally well-meaning people, both Americans in India and American staffers in the various consulates and embassies, who are also going to be shocked and appalled, right? They are also going to be taken aback by what the F just happened, all right? The question is, how could something like this happen in a country that is supposed to be the benchmark for all of us?
Well, I think that's the narrative, that it is the benchmark, and incidents like these in social media is enabling us to see what lies beneath the surface. Truth is coming out, and I think the onus is also upon us that we as a country arrange these screenings through our consulates for students who are going abroad for their studies, so that they know what they're up against. All we know about America is from these fancy films which are commercially produced to portray it as some sort of a, chosen land that we need to go to for a better future. And I think videos like this remind us of what's waiting for Indian students. And this needs to be reinforced. Shows like these and social media has now enabled sort of information and dissemination of information along these lines.
Okay, let me get Ambassador Sachdeva into this. Ambassador Sachdeva, I was having this conversation in a different context a few years ago. There was an Indian cricket series going on in Australia, and there were a few rowdy fans who were heckling and name calling some of the players who were playing. Now, cricket, as you know, is very, very popular, very well watched, and these people are heroes in India. And I was having this conversation on television that all the work that is done by all the well-meaning people trying to put together India and Australia, forge a future ahead, it is undone in 30 seconds by a ruffian sitting in the crowd, using racist stunts on an Indian player. So much damage is done. Because the rough and tumble of democracy, of diplomacy, so you know how painful it can be, how to create a better atmosphere, how to create better people-to-people connect. The PM has to go and you're engaging your diaspora and you're doing so much effort. And then we see this and we're going, listen, this is also farce. They're racist. They'll kill you and laugh. So all this is nonsense. How much damage gets done when these things happen, sir?
It's very damaging, particularly in the era of social media, as you have pointed out. I think those days when you could keep the Victorian era, you could keep the dirty secrets of British society under wraps for Indians is gone. Now everybody knows almost everything. And the United States, which has 43,000 deaths from road accidents every year, which is equal number of gun violence deaths every year, which has more than 1 million prisoners in jails, record for the world, has its own dirty laundry. And no amount of washing with soft power can undo those things. And now I should just remind you, Canadian behavior with regard to India recently has led to precipitous decline in number of Indian students going to Canada.
Yeah.
UK is suffering the same thing, with certain things being brought out in the open. Indian High Commissioner being denied entry to a Gurudwara on a religious occasion, Indian flag being dishonored at the consulate itself. All these things have their repercussions.
Okay,
so people are worried about their own security.
Yeah, so the assumption, Ambassador Sachdeva, which has been true for many decades, that it doesn't make a difference what we do to you, you will just keep on coming. Okay, that assumption no longer applies in the modern day. The reason I am so anguished and upset by this, because I know myself I'm involved in, done hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours of television programming here in not popular, serious subjects, trying to promote a conversation between India and America, which has to be the defining partnership of the next century. And I know exactly how much damage this has done. I'm shocked. An accident has taken place. You have an obscene person and you've done nothing? Ravinder Sachdev, you yourself, sir, have belabored for decades trying to improve the US-India partnership on all sorts of fronts, in your personal capacity, in your professional capacity. And a lot of that just gets thrown away because this is what the kids in the next generation just saw. Their introduction to America is they kill you and they laugh at you.
Well, certainly, Rishabh, and as you said, you've done, countless n number of hours on matters of substance, deep, thoughtful reflection on US-India relations, synergies, and path and futures ahead. That is the positivity out there, right? And in this journey, such incidents, as obviously we all understand, in this day and age of instant, informations and social media, they do a lot of damage. By the time even any clarification, if there is some truth to it reaches, the damage is done. This does portray a negative picture, not only a negative picture, it's not only a picture being, portrayed as a negative, it's much deeper than that. Your thoughts, your mindset about what America is, takes a blow. Not the way ahead, but I think one thing definitely we should be there in this is that this matter, especially the one with this the other officer, okay, there are two cops involved in this, one who did the rash driving and, killed this lady. The other is the other officer who's videoing. This officer's case and what he is doing and said should go ahead and should be taken ahead will be taken ahead, I do think so, by the family for their own reasons.
Yeah, well, the family will do it, but the family shouldn't have to fight this fight. It's not a fight. It should not be a fight. Why is it a fight? I just don't get it. I am just gobsmacked, okay, by what the heck just happened here. How could this possibly have happened? This guy, we've heard the audio tape a year ago. He's sitting there and laughing as she died, okay, making what can only be a racist remark. What was her life worth anyway? All right.
Quick.
Imagine, my gosh. And I can tell you, after having spent decades, I'm in my 30s, but I've already spent decades trying to promote the India-US relationship, because obviously it should be the defining partnership of the next century. You literally murdered it on the streets of Seattle and laughed it off when you killed this girl. Shame. Absolutely crying shame. And what a pity it is for the family of Jaahnavi not only to have lost their daughter, but to heard the cops laughing at her death and then being told by the American police, there's no evidence.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.